Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. My goodness, I don't even know where to begin with just everything from apologies to explanations and everything in between. I can't believe that I was just looking at Spotify. I was looking at the Beyond the Crusade podcast on Spotify, and I saw that the last time an episode came out was September 2019, which is also when the last Crusade of the Rebellion episode came out. So, you know, it's one thing I'm going to say is just that it's really weird. I re-listened to some of the last Beyond the Crusade, that last Beyond the Crusade episode. It was the episode I did where I was premiering the audio trailer for Critical Mass. It is very weird listening to that show and just thinking, my goodness, he had no idea. Nobody had any idea what was just around the corner in the next couple of months. I mean, I don't even know that anybody knew the word COVID at that point. I think it didn't become a thing in China until, it wasn't until October or November, right? That wasn't when we heard about it. And then I didn't even really know it was a thing until early January, and then I started getting concerned because it was making more and more headlines. And my wife had just traveled to Alabama. She was in Alabama at the time we were in New Jersey, or when we were living in New Jersey. More information on that in a few minutes. So we were separated at the time, and I was learning about this weird virus, this weird sickness that seemed like it was spreading overseas, and it was particularly dangerous at airports and places of high travel and stuff. But I mean, that was January. That was still in the early stages when it wasn't really that big of a threat to us. And then it just got worse as the months went on, and things got even more concerning in February. And then March is when, that's when it got real. That's when it got real for us, at least in New Jersey. And I think I'm speaking with the multitudes when I say that my life basically got turned upside down from March 2020 onward. And it has been a roller coaster of a ride. It's very good to be back, though. I'm glad to be back. And of course, this show, Beyond the Crusade, being back means one thing, and it can mean only one thing, and that is that Crusade of the Rebellion, the series, is back in production. And I'm very excited to be able to officially announce that here. By the way, I apologize ahead of time if you notice that my voice sounds a little off. I just got off of being sick. I am fairly certain that I had the Omicron variant of COVID. It was the first time in the last 2 years that I got COVID. I mean, I did get tested, and the test was negative, but it was just the sickness that I was dealing with was just checking off way too many boxes that my wife and I just feel pretty certain that this was COVID and probably Omicron. I mean, there's a chance that it wasn't. I mean, I do know the flu has been going around the area where I'm currently living, so that is possible. But yeah, I apologize for any vocal distortions that may disrupt your listening experience over the next little while that we're talking. But it's good to be back. It is good to be back in production. So, I mean, I know a lot of people have been saying on Facebook, you know, I don't really need to give any explanations. Most of y'all have been very understanding, and I have really appreciated that because I have needed as much patience and understanding as people can give me as I've been working through not just the pandemic, but a lot of crazy stuff and big life changes. I mean, 2020 alone, you know, was just really crazy between the pandemic and then, you know, I'm sure this is not anything new to anybody, whether you're in America or outside of America, but America was going through some real political turmoil throughout 2020. And then the presidential election was just absolutely insane and probably as crazy as most people expected it would be. And then January brought with it its own craziness with the little insurrection on January 6th, which we're, as of recording this, we're coming up on the anniversary of that. So that's exciting to have an anniversary of that sort of thing. 2020 was just, with everything as crazy it was, I had a very difficult time focusing on things. I've probably mentioned on this show before that I am as I put it, an anxieteer, meaning that I have clinical anxiety. I do have bouts of depression every now and again. I also have ADHD, which is I always kind of suspected that I did, but only in recent years has it become more apparent to me that, okay, yeah, I think that is probably actually my biggest issue. So when things are crazy in life, it is extremely difficult for me to focus on anything. And it was really weird because 2020, it ended up being one of my most productive and creative years that I have had probably since I was a teenager. It's just that, unfortunately for you guys, the audience, that creativity was not put into audio drama stuff or sound engineering. It was put into my other hobby and probably my bigger passion of the two things, which is my music composition. I compose orchestral music almost every day. It really is one of my greatest passions. And I hope to be able to make something of it someday, but for now I'm just kind of doing my own thing, my own little independent pieces of music that I'll post up on my SoundCloud and share on social media every now and again, just because I really enjoy making music. And 2020, it's like, because I was anxious about COVID, it's like my brain decided to throw itself totally into my creative passions to sort of distract myself. And so it was like, man, I mean, I was working on music almost 8 hours a day for most of 2020. That was how into it I was. It was basically like a job. And then I started adding music education. I started taking online music education. It was basically like all day I was just thinking and working and learning about music, and honestly it was great. I mean, I feel bad that I had so much free time because we got like so many other jobs, we got temporarily laid off when things were getting really bad, specifically during the spring and most of the summer. So I had a lot of free time, and it was a lot of free time that I was able to pursue a lot of these things that are really important to me. But because of the anxiety, it was a very sort of narrow focus as far as what I was doing with all that free time. And it just happened to be music that I focused mostly on. But I mean, I did a lot of music work, but I had a really difficult time getting anywhere with audio work. I tried sitting down quite a number of times and working on scripts. I mean, I did work on the script for the next episode. I did get some basic, the basic bare bones story out, but I was having a really difficult time getting it beyond that point. And ultimately I was just like, you know what, I hate to say this, but I'm not in a mental place where I can work on this right now. So I knew I had to put it on the back burner and just focus on doing what I could do at that time. And that's how most of 2020 went. I thought that 2021 was going to get better, and unfortunately that did not happen. We had some very big life changes that hit in 2021. As I said, my wife and I lived in New Jersey, and that's where I've lived all my life. My wife is originally from Alabama. I've probably talked on this show about how she and I actually met on a Star Wars message board back in 2008, and became best friends. And then we got married in 2013, and she moved to New Jersey to live with me. And so that's where we've been. But New Jersey has just kind of gotten worse over time, especially as far as the cost of living it's just gone up, and it got to a point where we could not get ahead with any of our bills or any of our debt or anything. And so we had to make a very difficult decision, but we feel like it was a good decision, at least for now, to move to Alabama, to be closer to my wife's family, and just the general Alabama cost of living. It's like, I don't know, maybe 40% less than what it was in New Jersey. So we knew that this would be a good place to sort of hit the reset button and, try to get our footing and focus on getting ourselves into a better place mentally and financially. And so we moved March of last year to Alabama, March of 2021. And, unfortunately, because of my various mental illnesses between depression, anxiety, and ADHD, it was a very difficult and has been a very difficult process for me adjusting to the move. I left the only home that I've ever known, and I've left my family, and I'm really close with my family. Many of them are still in New Jersey. And so it has been a difficult process for me to sort of reorient myself to this new setup, to this new way of living, this new arrangement that we have. It hasn't been all bad. Last year was a relatively good year. It's just that it was kind of a rehash of 2020 where I was having trouble focusing on more than one thing, and so I was kind of very hyper-focused on just basically one thing at a time, and I would switch between things, and it was just really difficult for me to do any audio work last year. But now, things are starting to look up. Things are starting to change. I feel like over the last month or two, I've been starting to come to a way better place mentally. I'm having a little bit of an easier time adjusting to the changes that have been happening. And for the first time since 2019, I've actually felt excited and lively about getting back into audio production, and specifically picking things back up with Crusade of the Rebellion. So over the last month, I've been steadily working on the script for episode 7, getting that going. I've got it's going through a lot of rewrites because I wasn't really happy with a lot of the stuff that I did in 2020. So I've been having to do some pretty massive rewrites, and then I've been getting irritated with the rewrites and then rewriting the rewrites. So most of last month and this month has been spent basically rewriting huge chunks of the script, and that is probably going to continue most of this month, and then hopefully I can get this finished by the end of January, and at the latest by mid-February, and then start getting the scripts sent out to actors, start getting parts cast that need to be cast by the middle of February, and then we're looking at probably going into production in hopefully in early March, and then hopefully having a release of somewhere in April and May. So a little bit of a wait ahead of us, but this is how it usually goes, especially with the fact that this is a hobby for not just me but everyone else involved. Nobody's getting paid for this, so it is a thing that we all do in our free time. So it's production is this, the schedule is at the mercy of everybody's schedule being free and running smoothly. And of course, when you're juggling so many different people, that's not always possible. So we're doing the best that we can with the time that we have, and hopefully, like I said, hopefully we can get this off the ground and get this back, get the series back rolling by spring, and hopefully even keep a steady pace and not have any more 2-year breaks. It was very ironic because when the show came back in 2019, that was after a previous long hiatus, a multi-year. I think it was a multi-year hiatus because it was either the last episode or the episode before that. It was a coming just after another multi-year hiatus because we had a family death, and I took it really hard. It was a really difficult family death to deal with. It was my mom, actually. I think I've talked about this on the show. And because of my various mental illnesses, things like that hang on to me much longer than they might for the average person. So it took me a long time, years to really recover from that. So we had just come back from that hiatus and things were just getting back into full steam again. And then another big issue and a big life change hits, and then we go into another 2-year hiatus. So it's just really wild to me that Crusade of the Rebellion is now only 2 years away from being 10 years in production, which is just crazy to me that we began this adventure in 2014, and it's still going because of various issues, various real life traumas and difficulties that I'm having to wrangle. But again, I'm very thankful for the continued patience and the continued enthusiasm of everybody involved. I just shared on Facebook the other day, I always forget to look, because there's so many different places to look. I always forget to look at, the various platforms where the show is available and see if anybody has left any reviews. And so I was just catching up on some of that. I went on iTunes and saw that actually we had a couple of reviews in the last couple of years. And honestly, I thought it was kind of funny, the things that these two people said. One guy was like, "So y'all gonna make more?" Or and that was in March of last year, or March of 2020. And then somebody last year, all they wrote was the header for their review was "I need more" in all caps, and then the comment itself was "I just want more content." So I thought that was pretty funny. So, we're doing the best that I'm doing the best that I can, and hopefully we won't really have any more unforeseen big hiatuses or anything. But I've just, like I said, I've really appreciated that most of you guys have been really understanding and really patient, and just you have continued to be excited and continue to be cheerleaders for this project, and I can't tell you how much that has meant to me, and I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the patience. This is not going down how I wanted it to go, but again, it's pretty much all stuff that's out of my control. And then you add into that the fact that I'm dealing with my own mental illnesses and stuff that just make everything worse. It is a disastrous combination. But I can't thank you guys enough for your understanding and your patience and your constant cheerleading in all of this. It has just been amazing to see that most of y'all have not. Your tanks are still running on pretty full. Your fuel tanks have not run out of enthusiasm, and I'm amazed by that, and I am thankful for that. It is taking some time, much longer than I anticipated, but we will get to the end of this series. I promise, as much as is within my ability to promise, barring any scary future changes that I don't even want to think about. We will get through this, and we will get to the end, because we are very close. We are very close to the end of this story. Basically, during the title reveal for Critical Mass, if you were paying attention, one of the things that it says at the end of that little trailer, that little mini trailer thing for the title, was something about the final hour approaches, and that was very intentional because we are coming to the climax of the series. It's not going to be episode 7, But we're getting there. I'd say we are officially entering into the final act of the series. So we will see how this turns out. And hopefully we will not have any other big hiatuses due to meteors crashing into Earth or aliens invading or whatever other thing is going to decide to happen to get in the way of Crusade of the Rebellion's release schedule, because that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. So I'm excited to be back to doing this, and I thank you all for listening. And this was just a really short episode just to sort of lay some groundwork and get us back into the flow of things, but I will be doing my best to keep up with regular releases of this podcast once more, to keep y'all in the loop, and so that let's just say partially why I'm doing this is as some level of accountability, having people in the loop that I can tell, hey, I'm working on this, so that it means that I have to actually work on it. So you guys are all my accountability partners in this. We're all in this together. And again, just to summarize what I said earlier in the episode, basically what we're looking at right now is I'm going to be spending the majority of probably January, maybe the first couple of weeks of February, we'll see, of finishing the rewrites and the editing of the script for episode 7, and then hopefully between the middle of February and the beginning of March, I can get the script out to actors, and all of this leading to a hopefully early spring release and return for the series. So that is, fingers crossed on that one. But just to whet your appetites a little bit, I will say that I have already designed the poster for the next episode. So there will be a nice little unveiling ceremony for that one, just as I did with the previous episodes, and also a little bit of an anticipation build up to a reveal of the title for the next episode, again like I did with the previous one. So I'm gonna be pulling what's that saying? Pulling out all the not pulling out all the punches, pulling out all the stops. Is that it? I think that's it. Pulling out all the punches? No, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so return of the series, probably early spring, and poster, title reveal, all that good stuff. And of course, eventually a trailer once I have enough stuff to make a trailer with. All of that good stuff coming in the near future. So again, thank you for listening. And of course, this would be a great time for you to catch up on or re-catch up on the story so far. Star Wars Crusade of the Rebellion is still available wherever you get your podcasts, pretty much. That includes Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I think it's on Radio Public as well. A couple different places, so you've got options. It's also on YouTube as well, though I don't think I put up the 6th episode yet. I need to do that. But yeah, it's pretty much everywhere. So this is a great time for you to go back and re-listen and get prepped as we near the return of Star Wars Crusade of the Rebellion. Thank you everybody so much for listening. I will talk to you next time, and until then, may the Force be with you.